today's session. There we go. All right. So our objectives are today, we want to introduce a variety of strategies for virtual engagement. We are highlighting some of the great work that's going on throughout the state, and we're using virtual in a very loose term, which is really describing any type of intentional learning, maintaining connections, or supporting your communities during this time of extended closure or disrupted programming. And then at the end, we'll save some time as usual for our resource spotlight. If you have any resources, tips, tricks, videos, anything you'd like to share with the group, things that are going well, something you tried that you love, or something you tried that was a flop, we'd love for you to take some time at the end to share with us so that we can make sure we're sharing all that we can in our network. So a quick couple of things, housekeeping. We know that for those of you who've been attending each week, you're old hats at Zoom, but we know that we keep getting new people every week. And so we want to just do our best to touch base. We know that we're all still learning new Zoom things every day. Oh, hello. So if you can, make sure your mic is muted, just so we're not getting any feedback from you for right now. Before we jump into any of the Zoom housekeeping though, let's do some out of school time team introductions. So Hannah, do you want to start it off?
Sure. Hi everyone, Hannah here. I work as an out of school time enrichment coach and excited to have you here today.
Hi everybody, I'm Crystal Hall. I work for the Iowa After School Alliance, which is a partner with the Central Iowa Out of School Time Group and the coaches. And I'll also introduce Teresa Slaughter today, who is our third enrichment coach, who actually was not able to join us for today. So they are the Dream Team trio. And now I'll turn it back over to Mallory and Hannah.
All right, and then my name is Mallory Reesberg. I am the third out of school time enrichment coach. And again, we are very happy to see you today. So now moving on to some of the Zoom housekeepings, we want to encourage engagement. So today we have a different setup than we have in the past, which we're very excited about. But we always like to try new things. So we encourage you, if you want to have your camera on, it always kind of helps focus in on being present here, because you know that everyone else, oh, sorry, says my internet is unstable. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, okay. But we also want to encourage you to use the chat box. We'll have some polls later on. We might do some screen annotations today. And then we also want to have some discussions, whether that's using the chat box, asking out loud. We'll have some time for those as well. If you haven't already, feel free to make sure you change your name. This makes it a little, puts a personal touch and makes it a little easier for everyone to interact on this virtual level. So if you need to do that, you can always hover over your picture. In the top right corner, there should be 3 little dots. And if you click on that, there should be a renaming option. We know that sometimes you might need to step away for a minute. Feel free to, if you need to do that, mute your mic, turn off your video so that you can step away. And that way we can prevent any toilet flushing in the background. And then also, again, utilize the chat box. We want to make sure this is a really easy way to connect with others while people are talking. And so we have one of the coaches, I think it's Hannah today, is monitoring our chat box. And so if there are any questions you have, whether it's about the content or about Zoom itself, feel free to use the chat box to ask any of those questions, write any thoughts you're having, or anything else. And then just a reminder, at the end of the session, we will drop a link into our survey that you can fill out after the presentation is over. And then we will also share it in a follow-up email tomorrow with these slides, and then with any other information from our panelists and any resources that we will be spotlighting at the end. So look out for that. And in that, if you need DHS credit, there is an option for you to say yes, you need it, and to fill out the information, including whether you need a certificate emailed to you or not. So just a quick visual of Zoom. So we're going to start with the audio video in the bottom left corner. So if you look at that double red arrow, it's pointing to where the audio and the video is. If you have a red line through either of those icons, that means that your video or your audio is not on. When you don't have those lines, it means we can hear you and see you. Moving to the right of the screen, we will be using the chat box quite a bit today. So click on that chat icon, and then you'll see a chat box will either pop up on the side window, or it'll pop up as its own window. Feel free to use that as often as you want. You can select who you're sending messages to. So you can say you want to chat with everyone and we all will be able to see it. Or if you want to chat to a specific person, whether it's the host or co-host, if you have a private question, or anyone else, you can select that and then it will show up just on that individual's chat feed. If you have any other questions about Zoom, go ahead and put them in the chat box, either to one of the hosts or co-hosts, or to the group, and we will try and get. So that helps us too, as we are gearing up for support in summer and what that looks like. It just helps us better know what needs are there for everyone. All right, so without further ado, we are gonna hop into our panel discussion. So you'll see today we have five organizations, different organizations represented from the Central Iowa area and then across the state as well. So we are gonna hop into
I'll jump in here to introduce Sam Gabriel, who's joining us from the Genesis Youth Foundation. He's been doing some really cool things to maintain that connection with his community. And so with that, I'd love to turn it over to Sam. Be looking for that reminder from Mallory when you have about a minute or so left, just so that we can keep moving along and be respectful of time. So Sam, it's over to you.
Yeah, sorry. How is everyone doing?
Good. Happy to see Trisha too. I'm so glad you could make it.
Yeah, she's off, so I told her to come and join me because I wasn't sure what her schedule was. So, but it's nice to see everyone, and I'm glad we all somehow made it through this far, right? So, Hannah asked me to share what we've been doing on our end. Basically, like many of you on here, we've just been trying to figure out, okay, how do we continue to work during this time? How do we continue to stay connected with our kids and our families? So we were just figuring out. So one first thing that we did was to create WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is something that I personally didn't have much experience with, but when we start to grow out of the Liberian community and start to meet more other Africans from other parts of Africa, especially East Africans, they tend to be more accustomed to WhatsApp. There's a lot of community group meetings, group chat and stuff like that. So I taught myself how to get used to using WhatsApp. I communicate in like multiple ways because my board communicates through emails, and certain parent like phone calls. It's just like I have multiple ways of communicating. So one way that we use was the WhatsApp. We created. We already had the parents group, which was WhatsApp, but we thought that would be cool to create. We have some middle schoolers and some kids that have phone numbers, so we created Genesis FC WhatsApp group. So we have about 20 plus kids in there. So we're able to engage those kids. If we had messages or updates, we just send it through the WhatsApp, and they will respond. And we also have Instant Messenger. We also use that for those kids who are on Facebook and probably don't have a phone. So we use that to really engage almost all of our kids in that way. We then start to figure out the Zoom. The Zoom was actually cool. I was attending some community meetings like this one, and I just saw how they were using it. I was like, this is something we might use. So we went ahead and got an account for Genesis, and we used that for the soccer aspect. Like for today, as you can see, I'm in the soccer gear. This morning we had, so Thursdays and Saturday we do virtual soccer clinic. It's open. If you want to join, you can join. I take my laptop outside in the yard and we just do some drills. So we use the Zoom for that. Trisha, I'll let Trisha explain what she does with the girls.
Hi everyone. So for the girls, for our performing arts, the arts group, we meet on Tuesdays as a way to keep the girls engaged, and we use Zoom also. And we share, so I share my screen with them, and then we do our YouTube dance practices and just games, just to keep in touch with them. So when we do return to normal meeting in person, we haven't at least have the time to stay connected with them.
Thank you. So I think that's your time, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing more about how you're using WhatsApp and different forms of communication to keep that connection with your youth and their families. Participants, if you have questions for Sam, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll keep a running record, and then at the end, we'll direct those at our panelists to kind of comment on your questions. So keep them there.
All right. Next up is Nisa Taylor from Boys and Girls Club of Central Iowa. She has some pretty cool things that she had, well, the organization, but she's been spearheading them. So without further ado, Nisa, can you want to hop in and tell us all about your awesome virtual programming?
Well, yeah, hi everybody. So basically the idea originally came from another Boys and Girls Club out of Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. And basically we've just been trying to create some of our regular programming. And at first it's been trial and error basically. And it basically boiled down to less is more. Because originally we had it broken down into hour by hour, and it was just a little bit too much. This is the Springfield programming. They did it by age group. So it's like a daily schedule, and it shows, gives suggestions, I guess, of what kids can do at home, hour by hour. But from our end in Des Moines, we realized it was a bit too much, so we scaled it down. I think the next slide shows, no, not this one. But so basically what we did was we broke it down to 3 programs instead of doing hour by hour. And I think now we've even scaled it down a little bit more because we were posting every day. And we work with Strategic America, and they were saying posting every day is a bit much as well. So now we just post 1 time a week, and it's 1 activity per day. So the post that is up for this week is Monday through Friday. And so each day has its own activity. And so we're just doing 1 post per week. And I think on Wednesday and Friday, we do live programming. So you can catch one of our unit directors from each club doing either a triple play, physical activity, or an art project or a STEM activity. So we go live on Facebook as well as Instagram. At this point, I don't know how well the kids are interacting with that, because when you watch it live, it's only a few people watching. But then if you go back and look, you can see that there were way more views. So I don't know if people are just catching it later and not live. So there's that. But if the next slide, I think, maybe 2 next, the next one. Yeah, so one of the things that Springfield was doing is they created a private page for their youth. And I think that is a great idea. Like, I think instead of bombarding our homepage, creating a private group page to where the kids can go and see the activities. Right now, Central Iowa, Boys and Girls Club of Central Iowa has created like a tab on our website to where you can go back and look at all the activities that we've posted. So as to not bombard our homepage.
And I think you have one more slide I'm going to advance. Is this yours?
Yeah, so no, this is Springfield. So I thought it was cool how many members they got to join their group page. So that's like a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just kind of thought that was pretty cool how they created a private page. They direct it, like on their main page, they direct you to join the private group page where they can interact on a different level. And they set expectations, they have rules. And so I just kind of thought that was cool.
Yeah, well, and I can speak from experience looking. I have used the Facebook daily posts that you have been creating and putting up there. I know that Hannah and I have been referring these out to a lot of our programs that are still in session right now, or if they are trying to communicate with families and provide just some quick ideas. I know that we've been directing them over because it's been a very simple format, but I definitely can see where the need to switch to a daily or a weekly from a daily could be very useful. Especially, it seems like it would be a small lift, but we know that these little things can turn into way bigger beasts than we thought. So again, we will be sending all these slides out, and so we've included the hyperlinks to each of the social media accounts through the little icons. So you'll be able to have access to them later so that you can go and check them out for yourself. If you have any questions for Nisa or about the virtual programming, go ahead and make sure you're dropping those in. Like Hannah said, we'll keep a running record. And I think without further ado, thank you so much, Nisa. We are going to move to John Douglas with the Wilkie House.
Hello, y'all. John Douglas with the Wilkie House. For those of you who do not know us, we are a youth development center focused on after-school summer programming as well as mentoring. We are also very lucky to be able to have individuals who do martial arts and boxing programming at our center. They are open to the public, but also part of my agreement with them is that they are free for our Wilkie House kids. Really enjoy it, something different for them to do. Obviously, right now, that has changed up quite a bit as we are unable to do so. As far as what we have been doing up until this point, it has really been focused on beyond just virtual, but really contacting and speaking directly with the parents, whether that be through phone calls, texts, or emails. I've been emailing the parents at least once a week with different services that are available to them, as well as many different academic activities. Speaking with the parents, and I've even spoken with a few of the teachers, I know engagement as far as academics with what Des Moines Public Schools is doing has not been what they hoped it would be. So staying on top of those families, making sure to communicate with them. I will openly admit my strength is definitely not virtual. I don't have Facebook. I don't like Facebook or social media. That is something that I understand I have to get over, especially moving forward, going through this COVID process that we have been doing. I know Cassie on here, big ups to her from Burlington. She had actually helped me go through the process of kind of solidifying what are we going to be doing for the summer. I know a lot of organizations here in Des Moines, if they have decided, have not necessarily put out word to the general community, or they have not decided and are waiting on Des Moines Public Schools, for example. This process of waiting was killing me, so I decided that we would be moving forward with a blended program. So that includes 9 youth per classroom with 1 staff, as well as doing structured activities. so that our classrooms have minimal interaction with each other. That includes taking temperatures when they come in, making sure that we wear masks if we do activities outside of the Wilkie House, when we do activities outside of the Wilkie House, as well as individuals in the building throughout the day, cleaning up and sanitizing after each activity. I understand, and many of you guys probably know through the CDC guidelines that we've had, they were quite general and essentially said you can open on up if you wash your hands. That's pretty much what they said. Our team did not necessarily feel comfortable with that, just due to the number of youth that we have who are raised by grandparents or have grandparents in the home. So that was why we avoided that, as well as doing the programming here in the building. We will also be recording the different activities that we do so that we can send those directly to the families so that the youth can be able to participate in those, the ones who sadly we are unable to have. But so they would be able to participate in those directly, including, this is something I'm looking into, but some of you might have gotten grant money that was going to be spent on field trips or things that we would be doing with the kids, transportation, whatever it might be. So I'm actually reaching out to see if we would be able to buy kits that we had talked about at the last OST meeting on Thursday, so that the kids who are unable to be here would still have the supplies needed for them to be able to participate in the activities we're doing. I know last week we had talked about adapting them so that the youth would be able to do it at home with the supplies they have, but speaking with the parents, that has been kind of a difficulty.
Well, thank you, John. I mean, it's great to hear that you have made that decision. I think it's always that the waiting game is the hardest, where you're waiting to see what everyone else is going to do. But I commend you for making that decision. And it sounds like you've put a lot of thought into it. You've made sure that your the environment will be safe at your facility, but you're also still including making it a way to include those that maybe aren't able to be physically present in your programming. I think that's amazing. I did have to chuckle a little when you said that you do not like social media or anything. It's just so funny. The millennial in me just laughs a lot of it. But you know, I definitely, even though I on a personal note love social media and use it in my personal life, it has definitely been a huge adjustment to supporting sites virtually. So I definitely think we've all done the best we can, and we all have this learning curve. And I am excited still to see kind of what happens now, because I think there will be, like you said, blended. I think that will become our new pivoting term, is blended. So if you have any questions for John or for Wilkie House, go ahead and drop those in the chat box. Thank you again, John, for sharing. And then Hannah, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our next panelist.
Sure. I'm excited to introduce Ron, Mel, Rhonda, and Amy. They're joining us from St. Mark's in Dubuque, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about their SEL grab and go bags. I'm excited to learn more about this. So I'll turn it over to the four of you.
All right, fabulous. Yeah, so we got creative when the quarantine began. We wanted to meet our kids' needs directly. So what we did is we came up with the idea to create social emotional learning grab and go bags. And what we did is we partnered with one of our local community partners. They're called Project Rooted. And what they do is they provide lunches at all of the public schools in the Dubuque area. And we thought that would be a great location to bring the SEL grab and go bags to and drop them off. So that's pretty much what we've been doing to meet our kids, to get things out to our kids. Rhonda, you know, she puts the bags together in the office. We kind of give her different resources that we find on the internet. We put a lot of variety of things in there. She does themed bags. I'm trying to think, one that we just had go out was about a chalk activity that's going around in the local area. There's some chalk supplies, and the kids are encouraged to do like a chalk design and then post what they do on social media. So, you know, we're trying to get creative and we're trying to advertise the bags through social media. We post about them as often as we can. Sometimes our staff will film themselves going to the site, or they'll film themselves showing what's inside the bags so the families have an idea. And, you know, it's a good incentive to get the families out, get them out of the house, get them checking out some new stuff. And, you know, we try to
Ron,
minimize
would you like me to pop in and talk a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Rhonda. I'm actually the one that puts the SEL bags together. So far we've put out 1,075 bags since this all started.
Wow.
In every bag that goes out, it's an individual bag for each child that picks them up at the locations. So we have 2 locations in Dubuque, which is in front of our St. Mark's Center. And then Ron said the Project Rooted. And then we have 2 locations out in Western Dubuque too. Every bag, and every time I do the bags, they have a social and emotional learning piece to them, a curriculum piece to them, and then like an art or a craft. And we also send home books for literacy so the kids can stay up to date on that. So.
Cool.
Yeah, they're a really good tool, really good resource. Like I was saying, we've been using a lot of social media lately. One of our people that works for us, she always records a video of herself reading a story to the kids, and she posts that every day. So, you know, we're kind of getting creative with social media, and we're just trying to reach our families as often as possible. Right now, we are kind of waiting until June to make a final decision whether or not we're going to have summer programming. But as of right now, it looks like it's going to happen for us. And, you know, kind of like what John Douglas was talking about, we're going to keep our classes really small. We're going to minimize the amount of time our classes can spend time with each other. You know, we're just trying to reduce the risk that these kids are going to have spreading the coronavirus between each other. So, yeah, we're pretty much anticipating summer programming still happening. We've had to get creative with some of our outside enrichment providers. You know, a lot of that we had to talk about whether or not we were going to do virtually. So some of that stuff is kind of up in the air right now. Mel or Amy, do you guys have anything you wanted to add?
I would say for summer, our enrichment providers, Rhonda and I have been working on that. And of course, we've had some drop. We've had some that we've canceled just because we're not doing the Bell Tower, which is a musical. So we're not doing any venues where there's large groups of people there. One of the things we were going to do is tour the airport. We're not going to do that. Another one was a bowling activity. And then so a few things like that we are not doing. Rhonda and I put another schedule today together. And we have some cool things going on, but our main thing is we want to get the kiddos outside. Any enrichment provider that comes in has to follow our guidelines, which is wear a mask, make sure they haven't been exposed, so on and so forth. We are not doing guest readers this year. We've always done guest readers. One of the other things that we plan to do, and our curriculum and enrichment team has been pulling this together, is we want to have an interactive space outside. Our green space at St. Mark's pretty limited, but we do collaborate with the Boys and Girls Club, which has some green space. So we are hoping to kind of set up some centers outside in our green space that will allow the kids to be outside, have fresh air, be able to do music, be able to do some theater, be able to do some science. Again, those activities would be things that if they make something, they take it and they go, and it's all bagged. If another group is coming through and they're going to be doing any part of that, everything will be sanitized before the next group comes through. So those are some things that we're looking at doing. Our enrichment providers, some of them that we have coming in, are going to be doing some pretty awesome things, but it is going to be minimal in comparison to what it has been in the past years. We're just hoping, you know, to get the kids together, to socialize, to work on some social and emotional skills. Our outcomes will be social and emotional outcomes along with academic outcomes, because literacy is a huge part for St. Mark's still. So, but we've also talked about how can we make our literacy, yes, they can do certain things with sight words and different fun games, but how can we use and we've got a lot of social and emotional curriculum that we use So if anybody wants any of those ideas, Ron, any of us would be able to share those with you. But we have some great curriculum that our staff will be able to use. And we have a huge supply of children's books that are geared towards social and emotional development as well. So those are some of the books that we hope to interject with summer learning. As far as a couple things that we're doing right now too, I just wanted to touch on a few more things. We have had, like Ron said, somebody is reading a book on Facebook Live every day. It's recorded, so then they can play that again if they want to. Another thing that I've been trying to do, any of our enrichment providers that the kids are really connected to or that they were going to miss in April and May, they did a live video. So then the kids could still connect with them and they could see them, which is fun. We did check-in cards in Dubuque and Western Dubuque, and they're just little note cards that we wrote a personal message to each family and then mailed those out. So that was kind of a neat, they're going to get something in the mail. So a fun connection with that. And then our website, we always refer parents to our website, and our media specialist keeps the resources on our website for our community up to date. So there's a lot of different things with that. We've also worked with the local Prevent Child Abuse Council and some donors that have given us some money, and that's the money that we're actually spending on supplies for our grab and go bags. And then, like Ron said, right now we're doing a chalk challenge, and that was in collaboration with the Art Museum, and they donated funds for the chalk. And so we're hoping that more and more kids would post some cool pictures with that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I have so many questions that I want to ask. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping people have probably asked them. Otherwise, I could go on forever. But that is just the amount of things that you all are doing for your community is amazing. And I love the idea of really focusing in on that SEL, but then also making sure that you are crossing into other avenues and focusing on academics and making sure that the kids know and the community that you're in knows that you still care and love them and you still want to connect with them even if it isn't in person. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone probably has a lot of questions. I'm going to be typing away. So without further ado, Hannah, can you, let me flip that over. And Hannah, can you introduce our next guest panelist?
Yep. Excited to introduce our next guest. I think many of us are familiar with her. She's here. Her name is Cassie. That's right?
Yep, that's
I
right.
always second guess myself when I see it in writing.
I told my mom she should have named me Cassandra. It'd be a heck of a lot easier.
But so excited. So take it away.
Hi, so I'm Cassie Gerst, and I work for Burlington Community School District. So I'm in the unique position of working for a school district, and so I can add kind of a different element to our call today. I do lots of things for them. I oversee all the after-school programming in the district that we have K-8. High school does their own thing, but we do have a mentoring program as well that occurs after school, K-12. And so I'm in charge of that. I hire and manage some staff under AmeriCorps and some grants that we have, and am their grant writer. So a little bit of everything. So I get to see it all. On average, we've averaged about 1,200 students. We have 3,600 in our school district attending our K-8 after school programs. This year, much lower, like around 700, but that's what we typically have done. We operate Monday through Friday until 6 p.m. in all of our buildings for after school. So with the change to our world, I'm here to just tell you about a couple of changes that we made, and then how that incorporates to what we're doing this summer. So we're a Google district, and we were very fortunate to be one-on-one as well. So we scheduled 2 days where we distributed computers and made sure that all of our students had a Chromebook. So they all do. We distributed to 87% of the student population for our school. And when we called the ones that didn't come and pick up a Chromebook, and they all said that they had desktops and computers at home that they would utilize. So our online instruction began March 20th. Where's my March calendar? I think it was like the 18th or something. So we started and use Google Classrooms to communicate with all of our students. And so for after school, I was able to make Google Classrooms for after school kiddos and then do activities and communicate all within Google Classroom, which is just wonderful. We still aren't able to meet because with such a large number of kids to be able to reach them all that way and in that form. So we also used Facebook Live and our Facebook websites for the programs in order to communicate with parents and do shout outs that they could show to their kids. So we didn't do any direct Facebook to students. Even my high school students aren't on Facebook, and a lot of them aren't on Twitter. So it's so using any of the social media other than Snapchat, which I didn't want to do, we chose not to really go that route. So much more to the parent end of things. What I was able to do and communicate with our after school kids is I did a Kahoot, and I have a virtual activities sheet that I have. It's dynamic, it's fluid. I constantly am adding to it, but I'm happy to share that with you, and that has a login for Kahoot. It's so great. It was really fun to do. You make all your own questions like a quiz, and you put your own pictures in it, and then you send it out live, and the kids can do it with you. They can do it on their own. What we found as a district is that live does not work. So it was really interesting to listen to Miss Taylor because you get very few participants live on anything that we do in the district throughout this time. But when we record them, they're listened to afterwards. And so we found that our students are very busy, and between online learning and home responsibilities and other things, having set things all day long or at set times doesn't really work, but giving them the flexibility to do that on their own does. We did a Jeopardy quiz that went out live. We sent it out and did it with some students live through Zoom, and then others just could log on later. And that was like it's a whole Jeopardy thing that you build. So it's whatever you want to ask and do, and then they play. I did bingo with my kids live with Bingo Maker, and that was actually pretty fun. We enjoyed that. The developmental relationships, I just want to point out from the Search Institute, because they have a quiz you can take on looking at the 5 components of how to continue connection and what are we doing and where maybe I'm lacking. And that was important for my staff and I to think about, okay, I'm really doing this support well, but I'm not really being very caring in this virtual environment. So they have different games and activities that you can do virtually in those 5 components, those 5 elements. So I loved their resources as well. Conscious Discipline is an organization you can look up their web address as well, and that social emotional approach to how we interact with kids and look at behavior and connect with them. And so that was really fun to do as well. And they have a plethora of resources for you. Make and takes, all free, things that parents can do, videos you can watch with your kids. So there's a lot of great virtual activities you can do as well this summer. And I'm starting virtual team building. So Training Wheels I'm certified with them to lead facilitation training. And they have some virtual books. There's 3 free ones you could download. So I did, and then it's on YouTube. You can watch her on how to do it, doing Zoom and cameras and all kinds of really cool stuff. And I will say we are doing my very first, because I have 5 new staff starting in June with me, and we are doing by Dr. Clue team building. It's Dave Bloom is the president, and we're doing a virtual scavenger hunt. He is going to lead the scavenger hunt for my 5 of us. so that we can virtually do the scavenger hunt together as a way to form our team before we start the summer activities together. So I'm very excited about that. And then I'm learning how to do virtual scavenger hunt so I can do that over the summer in our programs. I believe my time is about up. I saw my little yellow ball.
Yeah.
So, and then this is just, we can take this at the end if you like. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's see. Thank you, Cassie. That's amazing. You have a lot of things. I appreciate hearing from the district standpoint too, to incorporate that into some of the plans that you have and the activities. I think it's really amazing. And I would love if you'd be able to share that document. I know you said it was dynamic, but I think we are always looking for new ways and new resources. So that would definitely be something during the resource spotlight, if you have time to pull it up and drop a link in when we do that. Otherwise, please share it with us and we'll get it out to the community, and definitely give you credit for creating it.
So Mallory, we have some questions, and I know we're running about 10 minutes left. Is it all right if I pop in with some of the questions we got in the chat box?
Yeah.
So one question that came up a few times was kind of around Facebook. So those are those panelists who use Facebook. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how the difference between a youth Facebook page and a parent Facebook page? How are you engaging youth? Where are the youth coming from? I know that's a question I'm kind of wondering, is how are youth joining those private Facebook groups you've created? I think Nisa talked a little bit about Facebook, and then Sam as well. Do you mind jumping in and talking a little bit more about that?
So for us, it's we actually had one of the boys volunteer to create it. So he created a group chat, and where it is we can add people, so no one can just join in, and then we have the rules in there, and I'm closely monitoring it because I'm also part of the group.
Okay, thank you, Sam. So it sounds like you kind of empowered our youth to create that group for you, and then you set some ground rules and you monitor it closely because it's a closed group, so not anyone can join.
Yeah, not anyone can join, and anything that comes in there, I see it. Last week something came that was not right, and I was one of the first to see it, and I deleted it right away and warned the person.
Thank you. And then Nisa, I know you were going to jump in. Do you take it away?
Yeah, so with the group thing, same thing. Yeah, you have to create the group and then invite users, and not anyone can join. You have to be invited. So, and with that, you have to set the expectations and the rules, making sure that there's no profanity, that we're staying on task, and to get total engagement, have them do like interactive things and answer questions similar to what we're doing here.
In the spirit of time, I won't ask follow-up questions. Thank you for that. I'm very curious about how to use Facebook, because kind of like John, I am in the dark when it comes to Facebook.
I do have to jump in and say, I did just see John, Mr. I don't like social media, asking about if anyone was going to use TikTok.
So the primary reason I'm asking that is I know Facebook is for old people, and most of our youth don't use Facebook. Great to engage families and parents, but I know our kids are all up on TikTok and Snapchat, so I didn't know if anyone was planning on or has used either of those as far as engagement directly with.
Are there any brave souls out there?
Yeah, the YWRC has been using TikTok to engage with like middle school aged participants. The Young Women's Resource Center is who I'm with. And it's been pretty successful. We definitely, there's like 4 of us who manage the TikTok account, and we're all like in our 20s. So we definitely had to like learn a little bit about how it works, but luckily some of us had like younger siblings that could help us out. But it's been fun, and we found that it's like really engaging with the younger participants that we serve. There's options to like duet and react to videos, so you can like make part of a video and invite participants or clients to like do an activity or something, and like, yeah, so it's been pretty fun, and I think it's something that like our participants have definitely enjoyed seeing us on.
Frida, thank you so much for sharing. I am going to push back a little. Would you be willing to email or privately chat a co-host like your top 3 tips for using TikTok? Because it sounds like you've had a time to like sort it out. Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I could get I might ask one of my other coworkers to maybe share some tips, because it has been a little like trial and error, but
I'll
yeah,
send you my email address and you can follow up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome. There's one more question, and I think there's so many questions. Thank you for sharing your questions. I know time is kind of slipping away from us. St. Mark's talked a lot about engaging their community partners and making sure to respect that enrichment component and how engaging that can be for youth. I was wondering, could you just highlight one of those partnerships? Like maybe could you talk about the Chalk Challenge, how it originated, and then seeing it through to the end? Maybe is that something we could replicate here in Central Iowa?
Yeah, Mel, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Chalk Challenge is with our Dubuque Art Museum, and we do collaborate with our Dubuque Art Museum. During the school year, we do some enrichment with them, so we go to them for enrichment. In the summertime, we have had a class called Art Smarts, and it actually is held at the Art Museum. And the Art Museum is closed this summer, right now anyway, and they will not be able to have that class there. But Margie, who's the education coordinator, and I work closely together with enrichment. So she came up with the idea, what do you think about this? A chalk challenge where we send chalk in your grab and go bags. And then we did a little, or she wrote up the little flyer for the kids. So just saying, this is a challenge, and we hope you're having fun, and be creative with this, and take the chalk, go outside, write a positive message, draw an awesome picture, and then, you know, have the parents send it to us, like a hashtag, and then what the link was. So that's how that came about. And through that, the Art Museum were willing to donate the chalk. So they donated the funds for the chalk. As far as our Prevent Child Abuse Council and that partnership, I'm actually on that council, and we had some funds through a grant for Connections Matter events for families that we were supposed to do it, you know, from January through the summer, and we knew we weren't going to be able to do it. So we decided that what St. Mark was doing was connecting with families in a different way, but in a very positive way. So then we decided to collaborate with them, give them money for the funds, and then through that, they're putting Connection Matters materials in the bags as well.
Very cool.
We had a question, or Mallory, do you want to ask since you posed that question?
Oh, yeah, I was just asking, would you be willing to share like the chalk flyer that you all created? I think I could see it being something similar to like the heart hunting challenge that I've seen going around.
Sure.
I think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
So I know in the spirit of time, we are, we want to give just a couple more minutes to the resource spotlight. I do want to say that we will look through the questions that we weren't able to answer, and we will be in touch with our different panelists to try and follow up with them and get some more information, and then we will send that in a follow-up email. It might not be in the follow-up email tomorrow, but we will make sure to clearly mark it so that we can get all of the information to help us replicate any possible programs or activities here in the Central Iowa area, or if you're across the state, wherever you might be. So last thing we have on our agenda for the day is the resource spotlight. I know that Cassie's dropped her link into the chat box, or her file into the chat box for some of her virtual engagements. I see that Ron dropped the chalk challenge in there. Does anyone have any great resources they want to share, or any tips or tricks or anything? Feel free to drop it in the link, or we have just a couple minutes. You can unmute yourself and verbally say it out loud to the group. Nisa, could you link the Facebook, your Facebook post in there, in the chat box? And then I believe I cut someone off. Very, very sorry. Jump on in.
That's all right. You can cut me off anytime. I'm good with it. Just not when we're driving. At least I won't have a camera when I'm driving to tell you what I do. I just wanted to say, think outside the box. I mean, there are so many amazing resources coming out right now. I don't look at Facebook to get all of my resources, but when you are on listservs for a lot of after school, out of school time, all kinds of things, I'm just getting a plethora of new ideas from people putting together virtual activities. And so just take off your hat and get your box off your head and just be creative, experiment. I'm buying a new platform to hold my camera, so I have a dual camera so I can show me playing cards on my desk and rolling dice. So, I just encourage you to play and try. I'm going to be trying all kinds of things in the next month and seeing if they work, because I think you're right that we'll have a blended future. And the more that we can take opportunities right now to educate and play with things, the better our kids will be as our world moves forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mallory and Hannah, if I could just bring up one item. I know a couple of you today in the chat box indicated that you had some concerns about privacy or safety. I have a couple of resources that I'm thinking about in my mind. So I'll find those, send those to the coaches, and we'll vet them to make sure that they're appropriate for this discussion. And if they are, we'll be sure to include them in the email that we'll send out with the survey link following this up. So thank you for thinking about the safety of kids today too.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you to all of our panelists and all of our participants. This has been great. I know that my brain is just going 100 miles an hour right now with all of the different ideas and fun things. I'm really interested to hear more about the TikTok. I think that's something I haven't thought about too much before now, but I'm very interested, very. So thank you so much. If you have any more resources or anything, feel free to drop them in the chat box before we end the meeting. And then next week is our final, for now at least, CIOST Reimagined meeting, and it will be the Make It Okay presentation hosted by NAMI Iowa. Just a couple of quick final housekeeping things. If you have any follow-up questions about DHS or anything like that, Brittany is your gal. Here is her email. Again, we will be sending the post-session survey out, which if you need DHS credit, make sure you fill that out. There will be a place in there to note if you need a certificate emailed to you or not. If you have any questions about CIOST or any of the logistics, touch base with Crystal. And then if you have any questions or follow-up about the content or anything from a coaching perspective, our 3 emails are up here. Again, we will be sending out all of these slides and sending out the resources that we've collected throughout our experience today, and we'll be sending those out tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, excuse me. And then we will be following up with each of our panelists If we have any questions that are still lingering, we want to make sure that we can get all of the information that we can to share, because we know we're all doing some great work, and we want to make sure we all can share in those best practices. So thank you again. Hannah, Crystal, anything?
Just another thank you to our panelists, and typically we do a round of applause, so as best we can, a round of applause to the panelists who are here today. Thank you for those of you who joined us. I hope you're taking away at least one thing that you can try.
And I did drop the link to that survey into the chat box. You can certainly click on that and access it directly from there. But again, know that that follow-up email will be sent either late today or tomorrow that has the information, links, and additional resources in them too. So thank you.
All right, well, we'll stick around just for another minute or more if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, thank you for attending, and go ahead, you can sign off, and we'll hopefully see you next week for our last CIOST Reimagine series.